Commander Vexthol's first conscious thought was that his face felt wrong. His second was that entirely too many people were staring at him with expressions he'd never seen directed his way before. Concern mixed with something that looked distressingly like pity. His third thought, as the medical bay's lights seared into his vision and his body reported a comprehensive list of injuries, was what in the 17 hells happened. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Commander, please don't try to sit up, Dr. Azila said, her hand on his shoulder firm enough to keep him prone. You have 3 broken ribs, a shattered mandible, significant cranial trauma, and we've had you in concussion protocols for the past 6 hours. 6 hours? Vexthol's memory felt like it had holes in it. He remembered the morning briefing. He remembered the human exchange program officer arriving, some absurdly tiny thing that barely reached his chest, with a skeletal structure that looked like it might snap in a strong breeze. He remembered laughing. He'd definitely laughed at something. What was her name? Emma something. Emma Johnson. That was it. The human, he managed, his jaw screaming in protest at the movement. Where? Currently in the station commander's office, along with the human ambassador, the Galactic Council's diplomatic liaison, and approximately 15 different people writing incident reports, Azila said dryly. Commander Kael'thas has classified the security footage and locked down the training facility pending investigation. Would you like to tell me what you remember? Vexthol tried to piece it together. The human, Emma, had arrived for orientation. She'd been assigned to the Kralix warrior training facility as part of some idiotic cultural exchange program. He'd taken one look at her and wondered what kind of joke the human military was playing. She couldn't have weighed more than 60 kilograms soaking wet, and her species didn't even have proper defensive plating or natural weapons. He'd said something about it. Something about her looking like she needed calcium supplements, maybe? The other instructors had laughed, and then she'd smiled at him, that eerily calm human smile. And she'd said something like, "Would you like me to demonstrate proper training techniques, Commander?" He'd laughed harder. Of course he'd laughed. The idea of this fragile little thing demonstrating anything to a Kralix combat instructor with 40 years of experience was absurd. He'd agreed to a sparring session, something quick and educational to show her the reality of military training. They'd entered the ring. And then, nothing. His memory just stopped. "Show me," he said. Azila's expression suggested this was a terrible idea, but she pulled up the security footage on the medical bay's display anyway. Vexthol watched himself enter the training ring, still chuckling, waving off the safety equipment. Emma had stretched briefly, some strange human movement that looked completely inadequate, and then nodded that she was ready. He'd moved first. A standard opening strike, not even full force, just enough to demonstrate the gap in their capabilities. He'd been pulling his punch, for Star's sake. He'd been gentle. Emma had moved. Vexthol had to watch it 3 times to even begin to understand what happened. She hadn't blocked. She hadn't dodged. She'd redirected, one hand on his wrist, her whole body turning, using his own momentum against him, and then her other hand had done something to his elbow and suddenly he was falling, and her fingers touched 3 points on his torso in rapid succession, pressure points he didn't even know he had, and then the floor had come up very fast and the world had gone dark. Total elapsed time, 1.3 seconds. She didn't even use a weapon, Vexthol said, his voice hollow. No, Commander. She used basic hand-to-hand combat techniques. According to her report, it's called judo, combined with knowledge of Kralix physiology. Azila paused. She also helped the medical team stabilize you and apologized repeatedly for not holding back enough. Her exact words were, "I thought Kralix were more durable than that. I'm really sorry." Vexthol stared at the frozen image of Emma helping load his unconscious body onto a medical stretcher, her expression genuinely apologetic. She apologized? Profusely. She's been asking about your condition every hour. Azila closed the footage. Commander, I need to be clear about something. The precision required for what she did. She had to know exactly where to strike to cause unconsciousness without killing you. She knew your species' anatomy well enough to disable you without permanent damage. That level of control suggests training I can't even quantify. The door to the medical bay opened, and Station Commander Kalthas entered, his crest feathers flattened in what Vexthul recognized as barely suppressed alarm. Vexthul, you're awake. Good. We need to talk. I need to understand what happened. What happened is that you publicly mocked a human exchange officer, challenged her to demonstrate her capabilities, and she obliged. Kalthas pulled up a chair. What happened is that we now have a diplomatic incident on our hands because you underestimated a species we clearly don't understand. What happened is that 3 other instructors have requested immediate transfers off this station because they watched a human. Half your size put you in a medical bay without breaking a sweat. Vexthul felt something cold settle in his gut. Sir, I've spent the last 6 hours on emergency calls with the Galactic Military Council, Kalthas continued. Do you know what they told me? Humans have an entire category of skills called martial arts. Hundreds of different styles, thousands of years of development. And apparently, what Emma Johnson did to you is considered basic. She teaches it to children on her home world. Children, Vexthul repeated, faintly. 12-year-olds, according to her file. She ran a self-defense program at something called a community center. Kalthas leaned forward. Vexthul, we've been evaluating humans by our standards. Size, strength, natural weapons. We missed something crucial. They evolved fighting each other. For millennia. They're apex predators of combat technique. A chime at the door interrupted them. Azila checked the visitor log and her eyes widened slightly. It's Emma Johnson. She's asking if the commander is well enough for visitors. Vexthul wanted to say no. His pride, what was left of it, demanded he refuse. But curiosity, and something that might have been professional respect, won out. Send her in. Emma entered carrying a small bundle of flowers and what appeared to be a paper card with writing on it. She looked exactly as harmless as she had that morning. Small, slight, with an apologetic smile that now carried entirely different implications. Hey, Commander, she said, her tone genuinely warm. I'm really sorry about this. You okay? You hospitalized me in 1.3 seconds, Vexthul said. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. You asked for a demonstration and well, you came at me and training kicked in. She set the flowers on the side table, the cards from the whole human contingent. We all feel bad about it. You feel bad. Vexthul wasn't sure whether to laugh or scream. You disabled a Kralix combat instructor with 40 years of experience using techniques I've never seen before, and you feel bad? Well, yeah. I could have just told you about judo instead of showing you. That was excessive. Emma pulled up a chair, completely at ease. Look, Commander, I know how it looks from your perspective. Humans are small, we don't have armor or claws or anything impressive. But we spent a really, really long time figuring out how to fight things bigger and stronger than us. When you're the underdog, you learn to be smart about it. Judo, Kalthas said. Explain. It's a Japanese martial art, from a region on Earth, that focuses on using an opponent's force against them. Throws, grapples, leverage. The basic principle is that size doesn't matter if you understand physics and anatomy. Emma shrugged. I started learning when I was 7. Most kids back home train in something, karate, taekwondo, judo, whatever. It's good exercise and you meet people. Most children, Vexthul said slowly, on your world train in combat techniques. I mean, we don't think of it as combat training exactly. It's more like sports. There are competitions, tournaments. The Olympics have several martial arts categories. Millions of people watch. Emma tilted her head. Is that not normal? How do other species do it? We don't, Azila said quietly. Most species have clear physical hierarchies. Larger, stronger individuals dominate. We never needed to develop techniques to overcome physical disadvantages because the advantages were absolute. Emma's eyes widened. Oh, that's why everyone's been so freaked out. She laughed, a bright, genuine sound. Commander, you didn't know. None of you knew. No wonder you thought I was fragile. You broke 3 of my ribs, Vexthul pointed out. Controlled precision strike to disable, not harm, Emma said cheerfully. If I'd wanted to hurt you, the targeting would have been completely different. I was actually being really careful because I'd reviewed Kralik's anatomy and I knew where I could strike safely. She paused. That probably doesn't make you feel better, does it? Not particularly, no. Right. Well, Emma stood up. I've offered to run some training sessions for station security if you want. Nothing intense, just basic self-defense principles. Understanding leverage, targeting vulnerabilities, that kind of thing. Might help with threat assessment going forward. Kael'thas and Vexthul exchanged a look. You're offering to teach us? Vexthul asked. Sure. I taught self-defense for 5 years back home. I'm pretty good at breaking things down for beginners. Emma smiled that dangerous, friendly smile again. Plus, I figure it might help avoid future misunderstandings. After Emma left, Vexthul lay back against the medical bay's cushions, his mind reeling. Kael'thas was already on his communicator, speaking rapidly with someone above his pay grade. Azila was pulling up human anatomical data, her expression increasingly concerned. Sir, Vexthul said quietly, if their children learn this. If this is basic for them, what can their actual soldiers do? Kael'thas ended his call and looked at Vexthul with an expression somewhere between respect and existential dread. That's exactly what the Galactic Military Council is trying to figure out. I've been ordered to accept Emma's training offer and document everything. They're reviewing all human exchange placements across the galaxy. They think humans are a threat. I think humans are the most sophisticated close combat specialists the galaxy has ever seen, and we've been treating them like a minor species because they don't have impressive physical features. Kael'thas stood. Get healed, Commander. You're going to be Emma Johnson's first student. 3 weeks later, Vexthul stood in the training ring across from Emma, along with 15 other Kralik's warriors who'd volunteered for human combat training. Another human had joined them, Olivia Smith, who apparently specialized in something called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and looked even less physically imposing than Emma. Okay, everyone, Emma said, her voice carrying across the training floor. First principle, forget everything you know about fighting. Size doesn't matter. Strength doesn't matter. What matters is leverage, precision, and understanding your opponent's body mechanics. She gestured to Olivia. Liv, demonstration? Sure, Olivia walked up to Emma casually. So, Em's going to attack me, and I'm going to show you a basic hip throw. Emma moved fast, faster than Vexthul had seen during their sparring match. She clearly wasn't holding back this time. Olivia simply turned, dropped her center of gravity, and suddenly, Emma was airborne. The throw looked effortless. Emma hit the mat, rolled, and came up laughing. See? Physics. Olivia helped Emma up, both of them grinning. Your turn, Commander Vexthul. Vexthul approached slowly, his ribs still aching despite the medical treatment. You want me to attack you? Yep, don't hold back. I need to see your natural movement to correct it. He threw a punch, pulling it slightly because habits died hard. Olivia redirected it almost gently, tapped his elbow, and he found himself off balance. She didn't throw him, just showed him how easily she could have. You're telegraphing, she said. See how your shoulder moved first? That tells me exactly what you're doing. Let's work on that. The training session lasted 3 hours. By the end, Vexthul had been thrown 6 times, put in 4 different holds he couldn't escape from, and learned 3 ways to disable an opponent larger than himself. Emma and Olivia moved through the group with patience and humor, demonstrating techniques that looked simple but required precise timing and positioning. During a water break, Vexthul approached Emma. "Why are you doing this? Teaching us, I mean, after I mocked you." Emma shrugged. "You didn't know any better. Your whole species didn't know. That's not malice, that's just ignorance. Now you know better." She took a drink. "Besides, I'm a teacher. It's what I do. Helping people learn makes me happy." "Your entire species weaponized physics and calls it recreational activity," Vexthul said. "You turned combat into sport." "Well, when you put it that way, it sounds really intense," Emma laughed. "We prefer to think of it as creative problem-solving with your body. Much friendlier." Zoranix, the Galactic combat master who'd been observing from the sidelines, approached them. He'd spent the past 3 weeks studying human martial arts footage and looked like he'd experienced a religious revelation. "Miss Johnson, I have a question." "Sure, Master Zoranix." "How many distinct human fighting styles exist?" Emma thought about it. "Depends on how you categorize them. Major ones, maybe a couple hundred. If you include regional variations and modern hybrid styles, probably thousands." "Thousands," Zoranix repeated. "And children learn these from ages 5 or 6. 4 or 5, usually. My niece just got her yellow belt in karate. She's 9. Emma smiled. She could probably take down most of the people in this room, honestly. Kids are flexible and they learn fast. Vexthul watched Zoranix's face cycle through several expressions, landing on something like awed horror. "Your 9-year-old offspring could defeat trained warriors." "I mean, she's pretty good," Emma said modestly. "Not great yet, but she's working on it." "Give her a few more years." That evening, Vexthul sat in the station commander's office while Kael'thas reviewed reports. "The Galactic Military Council wants a full assessment," Kael'thas said. "They're calling in combat specialists from 12 different species to evaluate human martial arts. And in 3 days, Emma and Olivia are going to demonstrate their basic recreational techniques for representatives from every major military power in the galaxy." Kael'thas looked tired. "The Council is starting to understand what we're dealing with." "What are we dealing with, sir?" "A species that spent millions of years fighting each other and turned it into an art form. A species where everyone, not just warriors, everyone, learns combat skills from childhood. A species that innovated thousands of ways to defeat larger, stronger opponents because they had to." Kael'thas met his eyes. "Humans are what happens when the physically weakest species becomes the most dangerous through sheer determination and ingenuity." The demonstration 3 days later drew observers from across the galaxy. Vexthul stood in the back of the training facility alongside the Kralix contingent, watching Emma and Olivia prepare. They'd been joined by 2 more humans, Marcus Rodriguez, who specialized in something called Krav Maga, and Sarah Jackson, who taught mixed martial arts. The 4 humans stood in the center of the ring, relaxed and smiling, while the assembled military representatives watched with varying degrees of skepticism. Vexthul recognized that skepticism. He'd felt it himself 3 weeks ago. They saw small, fragile-looking beings and couldn't imagine the threat. Emma spoke first. "Good morning, everyone. We're here to demonstrate basic human self-defense techniques. We're going to spar with each other, full contact, no holds barred, so you can see these skills in action. Please hold all questions until the end." What followed was 15 minutes of the most controlled violence Vexthul had ever witnessed. The humans moved like liquid, transitioning between strikes and throws and grapples with fluid precision. Marcus disabled Sarah with a move that looked gentle but left her tapping frantically at his arm. Olivia put Emma in a chokehold that somehow reversed into Emma throwing Olivia across the mat. They were playing, laughing and calling out technique names and resetting to try different approaches, but every single movement was potentially lethal. The observers watched in absolute silence. When the demonstration ended, all 4 humans bowed to each other, some kind of human courtesy ritual, and turned to face the audience, barely breathing hard. "Questions?" Emma asked brightly. A Kralix general in the front row raised his hand slowly. "You said these are basic techniques." "Yes, sir. This is roughly what we teach in a 6-month beginner course back home. And your military personnel? Sarah answered this time. Active military trains for years in close combat. Special forces train for decades. What we showed you is what civilian instructors teach to teenagers and hobbyists. The silence stretched longer. Finally, Zoranik stood. I have observed combat techniques from 317 species across the known galaxy. I have studied warfare for 2 centuries, and I have never seen anything approaching this level of sophistication in hand-to-hand combat. He looked at each human in turn. Your species turned fighting into science. And art, Marcus added. Don't forget art. There's a philosophical component to most martial arts. It's not just about fighting, it's about discipline, respect, self-improvement. You teach violence as a path to enlightenment, someone muttered from the back. We teach control, Emma corrected gently. Anyone can throw a punch. It takes years to learn exactly how much force to use, where to strike, how to disable without killing. Humans spent a very long time learning to fight each other, and we got really good at not dying in the process. The Galactic Military Council representative, a dignified Zephyrian with impressive credentials, stood. Miss Johnson, I have a question that may seem indelicate. Go ahead. What would happen if humanity applied this same level of innovation and dedication to large-scale warfare? Emma exchanged glances with the other humans. Olivia spoke carefully. With respect, sir, I don't think that's a hypothetical you want answered in detail. Let's just say humans are very good at strategy and leave it at that. The representative sat back down slowly. I see. Kael'thas stepped forward. I propose that human combat instructors be integrated into military training facilities across the galaxy. Not to teach us to fight like humans, we lack the necessary physiology and cultural background, but to teach us to understand human combat capabilities and to recognize when traditional threat assessment fails. The motion passed unanimously. 6 months later, Vexthul had earned his blue belt in judo and was starting to learn Aikido. He stood in the training facility's observation deck, watching Emma lead a class of mixed species through basic throws. She'd been officially designated as the station's combat training coordinator, a position that had required 3 new job classifications and approval from 5 different bureaucratic departments. The door opened behind him. Emma stepped out, leaving her assistant instructor to handle the cool-down exercises. Hey, Commander, how's the jaw? Fully healed, thanks to your restraint. Vexthul had learned to recognize human humor and respond accordingly. I never properly thanked you. For hospitalizing you? Emma grinned. For teaching me that strength isn't everything, that there's always someone smaller and faster and smarter who can find your weaknesses. He gestured to the training floor below. My warriors are better because of you. That's the goal. Emma leaned against the railing. You know what's funny? Back home, I taught self-defense at a YMCA. That's like a community center. Kids, teenagers, adults trying to get in shape. This is definitely the weirdest teaching job I've ever had. You changed our entire understanding of combat. I showed you some basic throws and holds, Vex. Don't overthink it. Her communicator chimed. She checked it and laughed. Oh, this is going to be interesting. What? Another human exchange officer is arriving next week, Lieutenant Charlotte Brown. Her specialty is military strategy and tactical planning. Emma's smile turned mischievous. I really hope someone challenges her to a strategy game. That would be educational. Vexthul felt a chill of recognition. Emma, what are her qualifications? Won the Earth Strategic Command Tournament 3 years running. Teaches at the War College. Wrote a textbook on asymmetric warfare. Emma patted his shoulder. Don't worry, Commander. Charlotte's nice. Just don't assume she doesn't know what she's doing because she's human. Noted, Vexthul said weakly. Emma headed back to the training floor, calling out corrections and encouragement, completely at ease in her role as the person who'd accidentally revolutionized galactic combat doctrine. Vexithol watched her go, then pulled up his communicator to send a message to Kael'thas. "Sir, regarding the new human arrival, request we schedule proper orientation before any demonstrations." The response came quickly. "Already done. The Galactic Council has issued new protocols for human integration." Rule 1. Never assume human limitations based on physical appearance. Rule 2. If a human offers to demonstrate their skills, take extensive notes. Vexthul smiled despite himself. He returned to the observation deck, watching Emma help a young Kralix warrior perfect his hip throw technique. The warrior, barely out of adolescence, threw his partner successfully, and Emma cheered, genuine delight in her expression. Somewhere in the galaxy, military theorists were recalculating threat assessments and updating first contact protocols. Somewhere, the Galactic Council was having emergency sessions about humanity's combat capabilities and discussing what it meant that an entire species treated lethal force as recreational activity. But here, in this training facility, Emma Johnson taught her students with patience and humor, turning warriors into better fighters by showing them that the universe was more complex than they'd imagined. Vexithol had learned his lesson the hard way: never underestimate a human, especially not one who smiled politely before putting you in the infirmary. He touched his jaw reflexively where the fracture had healed. The scar remained, a permanent reminder that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room was the one you never saw coming. Emma glanced up at the observation deck, caught his eye, and waved cheerfully before returning to her.
"Students." Vexithul waved back, then pulled up his training schedule. He had Aikido practice in an hour, and Emma had promised to show him a new technique for redirecting multiple opponents. He was actually looking forward to it. Getting thrown around by a human half his size had stopped being humiliating somewhere around the third week and started being educational. The fact that Emma could hospitalize him in 1.3 seconds wasn't a source of shame anymore. It was proof that the universe still had things to teach him, even if those lessons came with broken ribs and mandatory concussion protocols.